So now I would like to give the floor to the mayor of the city of Łódź, Mrs. Hanna Zdanowska. Madam Mayor, let's talk about the city. Madam Mayor, when we are thinking of regaining freedom, democracy, when we go back to the 1980s, when we are thinking of the city that would reflect it, it would be probably Gdańsk. Currently, does Łódź compete with Gdańsk to become the city that symbolizes freedom? Because freedom games are here; they are quite well rooted here in Łódź. Well, this is how it is. 11 years ago, two young intellectuals came to me, Błażej and Leszek. Nobody expected how important the freedom games would become in several years' time. So the games provided us with hope that there is space where you can talk about freedom freely, where you can talk about freedom in each of its aspects. Being aware of experiencing freedom is most important if we follow the words of Professor Tadeusz Kotarbiński, who was the first rector of the Łódź University. So I'm very happy that it's Łódź, that is the city that has assumed, or rather became the second city of freedom. We do not want to compete against Gdańsk. They did a lot for history. Gdańsk wrote a beautiful chapter of history. To me personally, this possibility of experiencing discussions with people representing different options, different beliefs, different professions. In these discussions for the 10 years, now it's the 11th year, so for the 10 years we have the creators of culture, business, politicians, and intellectuals who are involved in freedom. And thanks to the freedom games, we still have maintained the feeling of freedom, and we always wanted this true freedom in each of its aspects. The games started a day before the freedom was taken away from us. And we survived, but I think it was quite difficult. Maybe it's the question to the organizers, but probably it was also a challenge to you. Of course, it was not easy to be the mayor of the city where people who are against the government. It wasn't easy because organizing such event involved funding. We couldn't hope for the support of huge treasuries, state treasuries, treasury companies that provided assets to other events, but not necessarily the events organized in the cities that protected freedom of citizens, freedom of all of us. So we aspired to have freedom. I was born in different times, so to me personally, the feeling of being the citizen, the feeling that you can decide for yourselves, it was the supreme value. In the past, it was not taken for granted. I was fighting for freedom when I was young. So to me, it was possible to show something different. And I'm very happy that we are here now, that we have survived, and now we can talk about other important things. Exactly. In the speeches of the two gentlemen, we have heard that we need to integrated big agglomerations are the oasis for democratic and free values. Smaller towns have different situations. So the question whether the big cities have a role, a part to play to make sure that the smaller towns should be attracted and to carry the values, these important values. There is this huge role and responsibility. I think all of us, the hosts, I would like to say hello to my colleagues, the mayors of other cities. So we are all aware that this is our responsibility. In large cities, in metropolis, there are these liberal circles, pro-democratic circles that do not live with today, but that also live with great ideas. We are thinking of the future. Small towns usually just think on the present day. They do not have this need to build the future. They do not have this need to talk about the future, not only to say what will be served for lunch tomorrow, but how the life of future generations will look like, how my grandsons, my granddaughters will live. The cities, the big cities, are responsible to make sure that we carry this light, that we invite people to such places, to such events like this one. We should maintain dialogue. We should experience, we should allow people to experience freedom. We have created we were a pioneer in developing the citizens' budget. So we teach people how to become citizens from the early years. I must admit that when I visit other towns, municipalities, we were using this example of the budget to show the freedom, to explain what freedom is. And I wanted to show how we can impact our future, how we can shape, develop our future. That is why the message of the games is so important to me. It's this. The city is listed as the first. So this is something we should aspire to. So it's not only that we have knowledge, experience, that we know how to build this intellectual layer, but we should also perceive the city as the promoter that shares its experience, know-how, and it wants to build the relations with smaller towns. But it starts with the city, but it ends with the future. So when we are thinking of the future, I wanted to ask you one question. Anne Applebaum, in her latest book, is writing that we were quite naive for decades to think that when it comes to democracy, we do not need to teach it, we do not need to promote it, that it will defend itself, that it will become popular itself. And then we found out that it doesn't work this way, but these autocratic ideas become rooted very effectively also in our country. So when we look in the perspective of our fatherland and small homelands, maybe the cities should take more energetic steps. We shouldn't look at the central government level, but we should look at the city or suburban layers. How to have it rooted? Well, when we are, this is like a loop. There is no Europe, no future without cities, and the other way around. In my opinion, this shouldn't be done as an evolution. It's a small revolution. Even the topic that has been mentioned at the very beginning, so the issue of climate, it cannot wait, and freedom cannot wait. We have experienced it when we were observing these processes for the past 30 years. So we didn't feel any risk of external aggression. Of course, in the world there were some wars, but they were fought in other territories, faraway territories. And freedom, we usually perceive our freedoms in the context of the liberty of the country, and then Putin changed our perception. So there is nothing to wait for. All the events that are taking place around us cannot be left unnoticed, and it's the city authorities that have tools that can reach with the know-how, and we should convince our colleagues about such needs. And I think that we are better and better with this, and let's have a full stop. Let's hope that it will be continued. Mayor Hanna Zdanowska, we will not change the world, we will not stop it, but first of all, we will, without our activities, we will not keep the real freedom. Thank you, Mrs. Mayor.